Hello, my name is Connor. This is my persuasive argument for Flex CTA 103. Today I'll be going over state medical boards, why they're failing us, and what we can do to immediately fix the issue. So, out of all the issues that plague the United States of America health-wise, serious medical errors, being death caused by a practicing physician, is the third highest leading cause of death in the United States. When I brought this up into my audience analysis essay that I had several here take, about 40% of you were not really sure what a state medical board was or what it actually is supposed to do. So in a sense, state medical boards are here to police doctors. They will receive a report, they will investigate it, and if deemed necessary, they will go ahead and place a judgmental action, either suspending the license or revoking the license of the doctor in that state. The issue with this, though, is that state medical boards are extremely ineffective. A consumer rights group, Public Citizen, did a report by Dr. Sidney Wolf and Dr. Robert Oshel, where they found out of the 888 physicians reported in 2020, only about 52% of them received actionable taken against them by state medical boards. When this is culminated with the CBS interview with Dr. John Hall, the former member of the Mississippi State Medical Board, where he, quote, says that state medical boards are not a sustainable barrier to prevent you from being harmed by a doctor. That we are too underfunded and do not have enough staff. Which brings me to my next point of how long these investigative periods actually take. In February of 2023, Nevada Channel 4 News did a report, and they found that there were still cases ongoing for over 7 years that still had no resolution. And the reason why this is such a dangerous problem is that during those 7 years, there are no laws anywhere in the nation that requires a doctor to tell you that they are under investigation for malpractice. Meaning that if a doctor takes an offensible action in 2020, they can go on until they receive a resolution in 2024 without ever correcting the problem or inform anyone that there was a problem in the first place. So you could have a cosmetic surgeon causing sepsis to patients without them ever admitting to it until they are finally having their license revoked. This is extremely dangerous because they could be suspended in California after waiting for 7 years. But if they also operate in Nevada under that state license, that's completely unaffected. They can go on continuing as if nothing happened and just hop from state to state to state wherever they have a valid license. This brings us now to the other issue, and that is the lack of transparency. I'll be going over how state medical boards and medical companies go and try to underreport these in the first place. So what can you do as a person to try to look up to see if you have a good or bad doctor? The only answer to that is the NPD, the National Practitioner Data Bank. It is a federal repository where every board and company actionable offense and medical malpractice payments are stored in all one convenient location. The issue with this, though, is that medical boards and companies routinely do whatever they can to not report to here, as they have, as a business, an incentive to not report to save face. A great example for this is when we look at all 6,290 active hospitals in the United States. Only a third reported any action taken to any doctor between 2010 and 2023. For 13 years, only a third of hospitals claim to have had at least one offensible action, which seems dramatically low. And this is because the NPDB requires companies to only report if the action taken is more than 30 days. So if a surgeon does a botched surgery, killing a patient, instead of taking 98 days off for remedial education to correct the issue, they could just be suspended for 29 days and it'll never get reported. The issue with this is going to culminate to the state medical board as well. They're primarily run by doctors, meaning that they have an incentive to look after their own, as they don't want to report on each other as they rotate through that position. So as we've seen here with Matt Wines and John Faber's article for the Milwaukee Sentinel Journal, while hiring and granting out new licenses, 13 of these state medical boards did not even bother to check this repository, as they're already aware of this lack of reporting. This brings us to the FSMB. It is the Federation of State Medical Boards. It is a nonprofit organization that's entire job is to represent medical boards and advocate for patient safety. They recommend that at least a quarter of the state medical board members are people from the public, people who are not practitioners of medicine. They're there solely to keep the perspective of patient care at the foremost. The issue with this is that the Atlanta Journal-Constitute in 2016 did a series of articles called Doctors and Sex Abuse by Carrie Tigran, and they found that only about half of the state medical boards actually adhere to this recommendation. Meaning that there's 50-50 shot on whether or not you're being properly advocated for in these state medical boards. And this culminates again further with insider information. With Dr. Ruby Michel's book titled Confessions of a Surgeon, he brings up the fact that the medical field has a stigma towards any reporting, calling it the white coat code of silence, where people are intentionally bullied and pushed down to report doctors for doing any kind of medical error procedure. Now, all this being said, what can we do to actually fix this? This is just kind of looking at what we have as an oversight to what we already have. Doctors are not bad people, right? It's just the medical boards here not being fully able to do their job. If we increase funding, providing more manpower to cut down investigative action, we can have these bad actors get the correctional punishment they need in the first place. We can open up the NPDP to the public so you don't have to be part of the government or a hospital to access it to see who's good and who's bad. And we can branch those further, requiring state medical boards to at least review it before granting out medical licenses. And then we can also further change the reporting requirements to further report any actions and not just anything over 30 days. That same report for Public Citizen by Dr. Wolf and Dr. Orschel found that the highest rate of serious medical errors was 1.7 out of 1,000 doctors, meaning that at most 2 doctors out of 1,000 would have a serious medical incident leading to death or further hospitalization at least once a year. And that just under 2% of all practitioners in the United States were responsible for over half of the medical malpractice payments from 1995 to 2020. It is just a very few in the bunch that's causing all these traumatic death rates. But because of state medical boards and their lax policies, they're just allowed to repeat and repeat and repeat.